Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, June 2, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Leave a comment down below letting me know what that's been like in your ear recently. Also feel free to ask any other related question that you might have about the feature though in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at this post on Twitter from Dr. Levi Cohen. If you don't know who he is the owner, the founder, the developer of tropicaltidbits.com, this website that we always use to show satellite images and the supercomputer model forecasts. He's been doing this for a long time, and we're going to be highlighting the post that he made at 1:20 p.m. on June 1. He stated, "The Atlantic hurricane season officially begins today. There are no obvious threats on the horizon, but Atlantic waters are extremely warm for this time of year, and environmental conditions may turn more favorable in the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico during the next 2 weeks as the Central American monsoon develops and wind shear decreases. Stay tuned here for updates. This hurricane season will, in all likelihood, be highly active. Let's keep ourselves safe this season and be prepared for whatever might get thrown at us." And he highlighted the anomalous westerly winds that are expected to enter the Caribbean by around June 8th. That's the second week of June, just like what he mentioned in his tweet. All of that will definitely set up a monsoon like pattern, increasing the amount of moisture across the Caribbean. And the fact that he highlighted the lower than average wind shear that's expected around the same time, week 2 of June. We know wind shear has to do with the winds up into the upper levels of the atmosphere, and he highlighted the fact that we're going to be having less of this. This is what we're referring to, all of this wind shear that we see cutting across. We know they tear the tops of thunderstorms off. This is what it looks like right now. The more colorful it gets with the blues, the greens, the yellows, the reds, the more wind shear is there to destroy thunderstorms. But if we have more of these whites, that's expected to lift more northward into portions of the Caribbean by week 2 of June. We're going to be having less wind shear. We're going to be having the thunderstorms forming and thriving, possibly developing into maybe tropical depressions or even tropical storms. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the month unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you all posted. On another note, let us take a look at what the National Hurricane Center's Tropical Analysis Forecast branch posted today at 9:24 a.m. So remember yesterday they highlighted the area that had to do with the upper level trough interacting with the tropical wave that has been producing cloudy skies, if not showers and thunderstorms, to section of the Greater Antilles. And they posted highlighting this very same entity that's affecting the Caribbean, and they stated, "Morning satellite imagery shows areas of showers and thunderstorms across Jamaica, eastern Cuba, Hispaniola, and the southern Bahamas. Localized heavy rainfall and flooding is possible in these areas later this week." So, heed the warning. As I stated in yesterday's video, the rain that we got on Saturday is just the beginning. So we were expected to get kind of a break across Jamaica on Sunday with less rainfall, more of that rainfall across eastern Jamaica than anything else, more so some light drizzle. But it's expected to come back in full force starting tomorrow into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So later this week we're definitely going to be getting in on some more thunderstorm activity across the Jamaica area, the Greater Antilles in general. So we have to take necessary precautions. Please ensure that if you have to go out this week, bring your rain gear, and if you come upon flooded roadways, turn around, don't drown, because flash flooding is definitely going to be possible. As a matter of fact, the U.S. National Hurricane Center made mention of this in their Atlantic Tropical Weather discussion. Let me zoom in so that we have a better view of what it states. So it states here that heavy rainfall in Hispaniola, Jamaica, and eastern Cuba, a persistent upper level trough over the western Caribbean, will sustain divergent flow across the area through Friday. This will support the generation of strong thunderstorms capable of producing dangerous lightning, heavy rain, and gusty winds through Friday. The greatest risk for large accumulations of rainfall is from Tuesday through Friday. The heavy rain may lead to flash flooding and mudslides. Flooding is also possible in areas of Hispaniola where the ground remains saturated from recent heavy rain events. So, yes, we're gonna be getting some amount of rainfall with Hispaniola, and they've been getting a lot of rainfall, especially during the month of May, which is why they're highlighting the fact that they're more prone to flooding. But Jamaica is definitely prone to flooding as well. We saw the little rainstorm on Saturday and what it did to sections of St. Thomas and even Clarendon, Maypen, Clarendon, that is, if you know, you know. So it doesn't take much for Jamaica to be flooded, so we have to be on the alert, and I'll be here to keep you all posted. Let us take a look at what the supercomputer models are showing for the next 7 days, and we're only going to be showing the next 168 hours as we usually do, just like what the US National Hurricane Center would do. And we're going to be focusing our attention right here across the central and western Caribbean. And we're going to be looking for these, what we're seeing on the maps, the greens into the yellows that represent some amount of rainfall. The greens represent what, up to 1 inch or more, getting up to the yellows, that's 5 inches of rainfall. So let's start it out. So we're going to be looking at the Euro model first, then we're going to be looking at the GFS. So we know we usually look at those two maps for consensus. Let's see if we have that still, because we know these models are forever changing. So going out, this is about 12Z on Monday, that's about 7 a.m. and we see the darker greens right there across Jamaica, especially to the south of the island. Going forward, this is by 18Z on Monday, 1 p.m. we see even some yellow spots in there, especially across western Jamaica. Going ahead, now we're on to Tuesday. Still have that moisture across the Jamaica area, some amount of rainfall still expected. Wednesday, something similar. Going over into Thursday, we still see that we have some bouts of rain coming in, and we're just gonna be going out all the way to the next 168 hours. So right there, this is 12Z on Sunday, which is actually 7 a.m. So we actually see more of a break. That's according to this run of the Euro model. We'll see exactly what unfolds. You know, these models always change with each and every run, but either way, we see exactly what the US National Hurricane Center is talking about. An increase in moisture is indicated by the greens, especially across the Jamaica area, the Greater Antilles in general. What does the GFS show for the same time period? Alright, so this is 18th on Monday, which is actually 1 p.m. We see something slightly different from what the Euro was showing. Euro was showing more of those greens that represent rainfall, more so across Jamaica than anything else. We do see the greens that represent rainfall surrounding the island, some on land as well. Going out into Tuesday, we see that by the end of the day on Tuesday, we're definitely getting an amount of rainfall across the island. Now we're on to Wednesday. This is 18Z, 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Still see much of the same, some amount of greens in and around the island. Thursday as well, into Friday, and even into Saturday and Sunday, we still see much of the same. So this is it. This is the end of the 168 hours. We see something similar with what the Euro was showing, more so whites than anything else, that depict little to no rainfall across the island. More of that rainfall more so off to the west of the island. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, both the accumulated precipitation forecast maps from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus that we're going to be receiving those purples at the end of the 168 hours. In terms of the rainfall totals, that's about what, 3 to 4, maybe even 5 inches of rainfall. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this. GFS a bit less robust than what the Euro is showing. Even yesterday we had the GFS showing more so in the way of rainfall totals. This just goes to show that these models are forever changing, so we have to take them with a grain of salt. But either way, there's rainfall in the forecast. Looking at this is basically showing another one of these. The rainfall totals is just a different map depicting the same information. So the Euro a bit more robust, showing those purples that represent anywhere from 3 to 5 inches on the Euro. GFS showing more so when we have those reds represent anywhere from 1 to maybe up to 2 or 3 inches of rainfall. So all these maps showing the same thing. We're in for some amount of rainfall. We're in the month of June. We're in our secondary rainy season. So all of this rainfall is definitely expected. As it relates to what the US National Hurricane Center is showing on their 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, as of 7:21 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:21 p.m. Jamaica time, there isn't much to see at all. Nothing expected within the next 7 days. Taking a look at what the surface map is showing, we can see that that tropical wave that has been affecting portion of the island over the weekend, on Saturday especially, has now moved off to the west of Jamaica right here. We have another tropical wave affecting portion of the eastern Caribbean, another tropical wave to the east of French Guyana, one tropical wave right here to the southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, and we have another tropical wave right here exiting the coast of Africa. So yes, everybody has been talking about the tropical wave train. Tropical waves are definitely coming, and they're all being pushed from east to west by the ridge of high pressure that we can see right here. You know, the high pressure ridges have air moving clockwise around them, so it's expected. And we can also see blue spiked line right here associated with the cold front that's attached to the trough that's still plaguing portions of the Greater Antilles. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see all of what we just depicted. The tropical wave right here affecting portions of Central America, the clouds associated with the cold front attached to the trough right here affecting sections of the Greater Antilles, the clouds associated with that tropical wave affecting the Eastern Caribbean, that other tropical wave right here getting ready or already affecting portions of northeastern South America, the other tropical wave to the southwest of the Cabo Verde Island, and this other tropical wave right here off the west coast of Africa. It's quite interesting. We have a lot of rainfall coming in, especially with all these very warm sea surface temperatures. All of this is understandable, and we're all here for the rainfall as long as we don't get, tremendous damage or flooding or anything of that nature. We love the rainfall. We'll take it. Alright, so let us take a look at what was predicted in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Sunday, June 2. If you remember yesterday's video, we highlighted the fact that we would have had some rainfall lingering during the night time on Saturday night across sections of the island, and that we would have received some amount of rainfall, especially across eastern parishes in Jamaica during the afternoon. And we know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, so Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. And what ended up happening? We had a mostly cloudy day from morning to evening across the island. We're indeed grateful for that. We'll take it. We don't want to see Mr. Sun at all, sunshine and the heat. We got enough of that in May. And if you look closely, we can see some of these clouds coming in from the east in the lower levels of the atmosphere, and that's where we had some isolated showers affecting sections of some eastern parishes, more so drizzle than anything else. And even if we take a look at See Jamaica's YouTube channel, if you don't know by now, we have a partnership with this channel. They actually show live streams of the corporate area and even Flatbridge in St. Catherine. So if you want to see more of that, you can go ahead and check them out on YouTube. And if we take a look right here at about 3:43 p.m., we saw that it was definitely a mostly cloudy day across the island. We didn't see much in the way of sunshine at all. And the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down confirm this. We see all of the clouds being pushed from, well, was more so across the island from southwest to northeast. Then as the day progressed, we started to get more of those mid-level clouds coming in from the west. Taking a look at the latest infrared satellite images, we can actually see that there was a brief burst of thunderstorms right there across sections of St. Elizabeth, maybe even spilling into sections of Manchester as well. These are the latest infrared satellite images. As a matter of fact, let me reload the images so that I have the very latest. So we definitely see some high code cloud tops right there off the north coast as well, sections of St. James, section of St. Mary, and we can also see that thunderstorm that we mentioned across section of St. Elizabeth. So some areas did pick up on some amount of rainfall this evening, and the Cuban Doppler radar confirms the rainfall. We see these greens and blues that we know represent those mid to upper level clouds. If anything, it's bringing more drizzle than anything across the sections of the island that are shown here, section of Portland. As it relates to the Cayman radar, we can actually see that rainfall that briefly affected sections of St. Elizabeth. If we look closely right here, they definitely had that rainfall just like what the satellite images predicted or showed. So this is why we need a Doppler radar. We know the Cuban Doppler radar is down, the Jamaican Doppler radar is down. Hopefully something is done before we get into the peak of hurricane season. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 27 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Monday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Monday, and we see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight yellow colors that we know represent 1 degree Celsius above normal temperatures, as we can see by the key on the right. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of June across Jamaica are about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. 90 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 32.2 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 32 to 33 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Monday. Taking a look at the Saharan dust, well, not the Saharan dust, the dry air map. This is the Saharan dust right here. So this is the dry air map, and we can see that there's a lot of moist air across the Caribbean associated with all the tropical waves and the troughs. We're indeed grateful we need the moist air, because remember how dry the air was. You know, the dry air is represented by what we see on the key on the bottom, the yellows, the oranges, the reds. And you know, the dry air can definitely, you know, put a hold on all of the rainfall that we're experiencing. So we're indeed grateful that the air is moist than anything else. As it relates to the Saharan dust, now we can see this is forecasting 2 p.m. on Monday, and the tropical wave is definitely eroding some of that dust, that wave that we were seeing across eastern portion of the Caribbean. It's now entering portion of the central Caribbean. It's going to be making its way westward. I definitely believe that it's going to be this tropical wave that's going to be piling up right here across sections of the Greater Antilles, and you know, making way for that heavy rainfall that's expected to start into Tuesday and Wednesday. But we can see that right behind it, we still have a lot more Saharan dust coming in, all represented by the browns, all of this pushing westward, all courtesy of the easterly trade wind brought about by the ridge of high pressure. Alright, so let's just take a look at the sea surface temperature anomaly. So there's a lot of talk about the anomalies. We can see them right here, especially across the main development region. This is the portion that we look for development most of the time, and if we have so many warm anomalies here as represented by what we see on the key on the bottom, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, is definitely concerning, because all of these systems are going to be feeding off of this very warm sea surface temperature. And with the lack of El Nino, with the El Nino starting to flip to more of a La Nina kind of event, as we can see here, with the cooler than average sea surface temperatures across the eastern Pacific, it's definitely shaping up to be more of an active season. We know the La Nina causes less thunderstorms across the eastern Pacific, and in turn causes less wind shear blowing into the Caribbean. So we're going to be having less of that and more so thunderstorm development thriving in the Atlantic. And the thing about these ocean temperatures is that they are warm at the sea surface at the top of the ocean, and they are also warm at the depth of the ocean. Look at this map showing the tropical cyclone heat potential. This is showing how warm the waters are the deeper we go into the ocean. And look at that area, especially around Jamaica and Cuba and the Cayman Islands. Very warm anomalies, as we can see by the key on the bottom, that shows the more colorful it gets with all of the yellows, oranges, and reds. That's the warmer it is, the deeper into the ocean that we go. So even if these storm systems actually suck up the surface heat of the ocean, they still have a lot of warm water to work with the deeper into the ocean they go. So if they're stalling, moving slowly, especially across these areas, they're not going to run out of fuel at all. They're going to be having a lot of warm ocean water to work with, and we don't want to see this system stall out at all. The rainfall and the damage would be ridiculous. Alright, so let us take a look at the waves that are being forecasted. We can see that both the Euro and the GFS models are showing Monday's forecast to, well, we're seeing blue surrounding the island, and anything else what we've been receiving all weekend. The blues, as we can see by the key on the bottom right, represents anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights, and that's because the winds are going to be averaging anywhere from 10 to 20 knots, as represented by these greenish colors, especially the brighter greens, where we have those stronger winds. And we see the flow of winds definitely coming in from the east for the most part across the island. And we can also see the darker blues across especially sections of some central and western parishes. That's where we know we're going to be having all of that air pile up. So if we're going to be having rainfall during the afternoon, all of those low level clouds from the east are going to be building to mid-level clouds, and then maybe up into the upper levels of the atmosphere, where they become cumulonimbus high level or upper level clouds. So there might be some afternoon rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes as usual. And with the upper level winds coming in from the northwest tomorrow, we can definitely expect that some of this rainfall is going to be affecting more so some southern parishes than anything else, if not some overcast skies. So it's nice to see that we're getting a pattern flip. We know for the past couple of weeks it has been favoring more of that afternoon rainfall across northern Jamaica with that strong southwesterly flow. So it's nice to have a change for once. Alright, so let us take a look at the meat of the matter while we're here. Where is it going to be raining tomorrow across the island? This map from the Euro and this map from GFS are showing some differences in the rainfall that's expected. This map from the Euro showing 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 a.m. Jamaica time. We do see that there's going to be some amount of rainfall. The GFS is showing more of those blues that represent rainfall, more so across sections of some southern and eastern parishes in Jamaica at that time. Euro a bit more robust, showing the blues that represent rainfall across eastern and central parishes in Jamaica, especially across the south where we see those darker blues and even greens in there. That is a bit concerning if it actually comes to fruition, maybe some isolated flash flooding. But we have to take this forecast with a grain of salt. We know that there is a lot of moisture associated with the tropical wave, and we can actually see the moisture being pushed from east, south, east, west, northwest, But we still have the trough in our region, and we know how tricky these troughs can be. They can definitely bring a lot of flood rainfall, but at the same time they can displace all of the rainfall elsewhere or out to sea. So we have to take all of these forecasts with a grain of salt, which explains the drastic difference in the amount of rainfall that's expected at that time on the Euro and the GFS. Skipping ahead to the afternoon forecast now, there is a better certainty with the afternoon rainfall forecast, as we see both the Euro and the GFS models showing the blues that represent rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica by about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. They even show that tremendous rainfall off to the east of the island on both supercomputer models, so that's a plus. And even by night time, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 7 p.m. Jamaica time, and we still see some rainfall on land, if not surrounding the island on both maps. So it's gonna be very interesting to see exactly what unfolds. Both accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus that somewhere in Jamaica is gonna be receiving rainfall within the next 24 hours. Euro a bit more robust than the GFS. Euro showing up to 0.72 of an inch of rainfall, more so across the eastern portion of the island. GFS showing up to 0.3 or 0.38 of an inch of rainfall, especially across central Jamaica. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, we're indeed grateful. We're in the month of June. We're in our secondary rainy season. We'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put some kind of a dent in the drought that some areas are currently experiencing, not to mention the heat that some areas are currently experiencing across Jamaica. Alright, so that is it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have the tropical wave still bringing some amount of rainfall to sections of the eastern Caribbean as we speak. The trough still brings some amount of rainfall to sections of the greater Antilles as we speak. And we can also see the other tropical wave affecting sections of Central America as well as sections of northeastern South America right there. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we're gonna be seeing that we have some amount of rainfall plaguing the area. That rainfall across sections of the eastern portions of the Dominican Republic. You can see some rainfall across sections of especially the British Virgin Islands, and we see a lot of rainfall to the east of Antigua and Barbuda as well. So there's definitely a lot more rainfall to come. Even if we put these Doppler radar images into motion, we saw that there was definitely a lot of heavy rainfall across sections of especially northern and eastern Puerto Rico. Today might have triggered some flash flooding in some spots. We saw that there was a lot of hit or miss showers here and there. Even sections of the US Virgin Islands picked up on some amount of rainfall today. And there's a lot more of that to come. And if we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see some amount of rainfall passing to the north and the south of Barbados. Not much happening across Barbados right now, but we do see some more rainfall coming in from the east. So who knows, maybe some more rainfall tonight into tomorrow. But these are the areas that we're seeing rainfall now. Some rainfall right there affecting sections of St. Lucia. Some rainfall affecting the waters to the north of Martinique, to the south of Dominica. Some rainfall right there affecting sections of St. Vincent and the northern Grenadine Islands. And we can also see some rainfall affecting sections of Trinidad and Tobago, with some more coming in from the east. So these tropical waves are definitely here to stay. Taking a look at a wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see the rainfall is everywhere. Rainfall right here across sections of southern Florida, sections of Cuba, sections of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Eastern Caribbean. Even looking south of there, we can see that rainfall associated with the tropical wave affecting sections of Suriname, French Guiana, sections of Colombia getting in on the mix, not to mention sections of Venezuela. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we'll still see all of these yellows and oranges that we know represent above normal temperatures from the central US into the Gulf of Mexico. Central America still getting in on those way above normal temperatures. Sections of Northern and South America, not to mention sections of the Central and Eastern Caribbean getting in on those above normal temperatures. while average to slightly below normal temperatures should be plaguing sections of the Greater Antilles where we see those grays, not to mention those blues, as well as a section of the northern Bahamas. If we take a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Monday, we can see that portion of the central to the western Caribbean are starting to get a break, all courtesy of the moisture brought about by the tropical wave. But the eastern Caribbean starting to get back into the Saharan dust right here, as all of these browns that represent the Saharan dust are still coming in from Africa. So some hazy skies are definitely going to be in the mix, not to mention maybe triggering some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that we still have a mixture of those blues across the Caribbean, and we can see by the key on the bottom right that represents anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights, and that's because the winds for the most part should be averaging anywhere from 10 to 20 knots, and we see the general direction for the winds across the Caribbean, well, across the main development region from the east, across the eastern Caribbean from the east southeast, curving across the central to the western Caribbean from the east, even the Gulf of Mexico from the southeast. However, as it relates to the rainfall forecast now, keep in mind that both of these maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these are the areas that are going to be picking up the most in the way of rainfall. So definitely sections of southern Florida, section of the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, sections of the US and British Virgin Islands, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, sections of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, sections of French Guiana, Suriname, Guyana, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. And the thing is, we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with all of these colors that we know represent even up to 1 inch of rainfall or more. And we know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching.